Hi, are you Italian and looking to qualify as a solicitor of England and Wales? Well, this video is then for you. My name is Ingemar Hunnings. I'm the lead consultant at HCL, and we do a lot of work helping people through qualification. This is acting as external confirming solicitors for QWE. And also assisting qualified lawyers with their applications for exemption from the SQE2 exam. So I'm going to share my screen and talk you through giving you the information I hope you will find helpful. So let me share my screen, bring up on screen this, which explains the elements that are required for qualifying as a solicitor of England and Wales through the SQE route. So as you can see, there are four elements. I'll talk through those, then I'll talk about exemptions. I'll move on to confirming qualifying work experience, and then I'll talk about applications for exemption from the SQE2 exam. So in order to qualify as a solicitor of England and Wales, through the SQE route, there are four elements that you need to have a degree or degree equivalent. Notice it does not have to be a law degree, and there's no requirement by the SRA for you to do any converter course. So you could do a degree in some other topic, or it could be some other qualification which is degree equivalent. The SRA will use, I think it's ENIC, to test the equivalency. Okay, there are the exams, the SQE1 and the SQE2, which you'll have to sit and pass. This is the SRA, Solicitors Regulation Authority, who are making the decision as to whether you are fit to be licensed as a solicitor. You have to have at least 2 years full-time equivalent qualifying work experience, QWE, confirmed to the SRA by an SRA regulated solicitor or a COLP. Okay. And then finally, the usual things of proving your identity, criminal records checks, and such like. Okay, so I've talked about the degree. That's fair enough. And the element right at the end, if you don't have a solicitor who can do that identity check for you, it is something that we can help with. Now, the exams, element B here. So there are two exams, the SQE1 and the SQE2. The SQE1 tests your legal knowledge and is made up of two parts, the FLK1 and the FLK2. FLK stands for functioning legal knowledge. And they are multiple choice questions. You can sit them in the Pearson View Centres, so you don't necessarily have to travel to the UK for that. And they're tough. Of the people who sit the exams, roughly about 55% pass. They're tough because you have the multiple choice potential answers, usually about four, more than one of which could be correct. And time-wise, there's not a lot of time for you to make a decision between them. So they're quite tight time-wise. So you need to be good at managing your time. You can only apply to sit the SQE2 exam if you have passed the SQE1 or if you've been exempted from it. The SQE2 exam is the SRA having a look at you as if you were a newly qualified solicitor to see if they think that you're fit to be licensed to practice. And it's made up of 16 questions, real life scenarios. 12 of them are written, four of them are oral. At the time of recording this, which is in the February 2026, you still have to travel to England or Wales to be able to take the four oral questions. That might change in the future. So of the people who sit the SQE2, roughly about 77% pass, but do remember that that's a filtered group because those are people who have either been exempted from or who have passed the SQE1. We don't provide training on the SQE1 and SQE2 exams, but there are plenty of training providers out there. Right, the qualifying work experience. So you need to have a minimum of 2 years full-time equivalent qualifying work experience confirmed to the SRA by an SRA regulated solicitor or a COLP. Okay, COLP is Compliance Officer Legal Practice, and that's only really relevant if you're working for an SRA regulated law firm. Few definitions and clarifications. So 2 years full-time equivalent. So what does full-time mean? The SRA has defined that as a minimum of 32 hours a week, but it does allow you to work part-time or for part of your work to be QWE. So let's take some simple maths examples. It could be that you have you're working 16 hours a week, then it would take you 4 years to get your 2 years full-time equivalent, or half of your work is qualifying work experience, in which case it'll take you 4 years to get 2 years full-time equivalent. Now then, the QWE does not have to be done in English and Welsh law. It does not have to be done in England and Wales. It does not have to be done in a law firm. Indeed, most of the people we help are working in-house in a company. Also, you can reach back in time as far as you want for your QWE, and you can use an external solicitor to do the confirmation. For example, if there is no solicitor regulated by the SRA in your organization. A particular point for people in Italy. No, I'll come to that point later on. Okay, so there we go with regard to that. Now, I'll start to talk about some exemptions, I think. I'll talk about that next. Okay, so the SQE1, in reality, you're only ever going to be able to get an exemption from the SQE1 if you have sat and passed the old LPC exam. That's the old way of qualifying. You currently can trade that in for an exemption from the SQE1. Now, if you are not qualified, then you do that and you go and sit the SQE2, and you need to have your 2 years QWE confirmed. Okay. If you are a qualified lawyer, so let's say an avvocato, and you had sat the LPC and passed it, and you trade in your LPC pass, then of course you'll need to sit the SQE2 exam, but you will also have to get your QWE confirmed. You're not exempted from that. If you are a qualified lawyer, an avvocato, and you sit the SQE1, you will then automatically be exempted from the QWE element, and you do have the opportunity of applying for exemption from the SQE2. So let me just run through that again. If you're a qualified avvocato and you have passed the old LPC exam, you can choose to trade that LPC pass in against an exemption from the SQE1. But that would mean that you would not be exempted from the QWE element, so you'd have to have that confirmed, and you would have to sit the SQE2. If instead you sit the SQE1, it's open to you to apply for exemption from the SQE2, and you would be automatically exempted from the QWE. Okay, I'll talk about qualifying work experience first, then I'll talk about applications for exemption from the SQE2. But one point which I know that is relevant for avocatos, and I'll just pick up now, and that is I'm told that in Italy, if you want to work in-house rather than in a private law firm, you have to give up your registration with your local bar or law society or the equivalent thereof. The SRA, because I asked them, I know the answer to this, the SRA have said that that is not a impediment for you applying for an exemption from the SQE2. So the fact you're working in-house as an in-house legal in Italy, still that counts, and you can still apply for exemption from the SQE2. Right, let's look at the QWE element here. Confirming your qualifying work experience. So if you have a solicitor regulated by the SRA in your organization, you can ask them to do confirm your qualifying work experience. And that's pretty straightforward for them because they've seen you doing the work, and that's fine. If, however, you don't, then you can ask an external solicitor to do the confirmation. And that is a service that we provide. We have provided that since actually before the SQE came in, because we were working closely with the SRA to work out what their rules meant and how we might be able to help people who would otherwise be stuck. So bringing up on screen here, this is our firm. And by the way, you could look up in here SQE training providers, and we have a page on there which can help you with that. We just listed the main training providers. But if we go down here, QWE confirmation, SQE2 exemption. So we do help people with applications, sorry, with the confirmation of your QWE, with us acting as an external confirming solicitor. And at the point of recording this, which is February 2026, we have confirmed the QWE of over 180 people from all over the world. More than half of them outside of the UK, more than half of them working in-house in companies. So where you are asking an external solicitor to confirm your qualifying work experience, the SRA requires us, when we're on the SRA website doing the confirmation, to confirm that we've done more than would be the case if you were working in, say, my law firm. So I have to confirm that I have reviewed your work and that I've got feedback from your supervisor. Now, your supervisor doesn't have to be a lawyer, okay? But so I just get their feedback through a Zoom call, put it into a statement, they sign it, I sign it, there we go. As far as confirming the QWE is concerned, I need to see it because the SRA asked me to confirm that I have reviewed it, and my understanding of the English language there is that means seeing it, and I have checked that with the SRA, and they have not disagreed with my interpretation of the English language there. So I will view that, going through that with you, and I do that through a Zoom call. So I don't want the work sent to me at all. I don't want it on my systems for obvious GDPR and data protection confidentiality reasons. If your company wants you to redact anything confidential, hiding the names of parties, for example, that's fine by me. I'm also happy to sign a non-disclosure agreement if that's what they want me to do as well, so long as it's in English. Okay, so and I usually offer a free, no obligation Zoom call with someone who needs to have their QWE confirmed to go through to make sure it's appropriate for me to act, that I do think it is QWE, and then to explain the process before you make any decisions. So there we go with regard to that. What I should say also is that the confirmation of QWE does not expire, and you can do it before, during, or after the exams. So there we go. Happy to assist with that. Now, also, you're on YouTube. We have lots of YouTube videos about this. And so if you're on YouTube and you're watching this, may I ask you please to like and subscribe, helping this video to reach more people. Now then, so that's about QWE confirmation, and I hope that's some help to you. Obviously, if I need to see the work, then it's good that you do this before you leave the company so you still have access to the work. It's very sad when I have a conversation with someone and they say, oh, well, I had all of this, but I've left now, so I don't have access to the work. I can't confirm the QWE because I haven't seen it, and I'm not going to lie to my regulator. Okay. And the other thing I just wanted to point out, in case you were wondering, if your supervisor is a US attorney, English barrister, Scottish lawyer, etc., that's not good enough. It needs to be someone who's regulated by the SRA, a solicitor, which of course I am, as I'm explaining this. So, right, let's move on to applying for exemption from the SQE2 exam. Okay, so we do have a service helping with this SQE2 exemptions where I explain everything in here and such like. But let me talk specifically about Italian lawyers and them applying for the exemptions. So um, the SRA has kindly and helpfully summarized what the requirements are for applying for an exemption from the SQE2 if you are an Italian avvocato. And remember, I said I have got clarification from them that if you are an avvocato but you have deregistered because you're working in-house, that is not an impediment to you proceeding. So you do not have an agreed exemption, but you can apply for an individual exemption from the SQE2 exam, and we have helped people with this before. So to do this, you need to provide evidence of your professional qualification. They've suggested an admission certificate, which you would have got when you qualified. That's the easiest thing, I think, for you to upload through your MySRA profile as proof. You also, if you qualified before, hang on, if you started your law studies before the 31st of December 2012, then you just need to have some proof, a reference from someone to say that you completed your 2 years training. Probably the person who is your training principal. I've not come across anyone with regard to that yet, but there you go. If you completed your, oh, sorry, if you started your studies after that date, so from 2013 onwards, then you need to provide a reference showing you have at least 6 months legal work experience post-qualification. And you will also need to upload the proof of qualification of your referee, so admission certificate, fill in the form and pay the fee. So let's go and find the form. So there we go. You can, from this page on our website, download the form. So I'm just going to do that now and then open it up so you can have a look at that. I can take you through the form. So you would fill in section 1, who you are. Section 2, now this is where if you're working in-house, you might say, oh, but I can't put this in here. But you've got the details of the bar where you qualified, but you could write a note further down saying, but working in-house. Your qualification would entitle you to say yes to all of these these practice rights that you were granted by qualifying, so that's good. Ethics, you'd fill that in. I'm sure the answer is yes to everything. Section 4, it's 4B that you're filling in. You do not have an agreed exemption. And then you put in the details of the organization where you did that post-qualification legal work experience, which could be done outside of Italy. That's fine. Okay, it just needs to be to the level of your qualification, not as a paralegal. And it's SQE2 exemption, so that's the one that you'd mark there. Sections 5 and 6, you do not need to fill in, so you can skip through all of this and you go on to section 7. And you would be filling in section 7C because the SRA is taking your qualification as proof, and this is, I'm assuming that you did your studies after from the 1st of January 2013 onwards. They're taking your qualification as proof that you had 18 months legal work experience as part of your qualification, and now you're just providing proof of the 6 months post qualification. So my 2 years are a combination, and then you put in the details of the referee for that 6 months post qualification legal work experience. Now, by the way, legal work experience for an SQE2 exemption application is a completely different definition from the QWE. Okay, the QWE is the provision of legal services. This is just post-qualification legal work experience to the level of your qualification. Now then, the reference letter, just to talk a little bit about that. The letter of reference that we were talking about and the SRA requires, there are, so there we go, provide a reference. Probably you're going to draft it. There are some specific requirements that the SRA wants you to put in there, and you want to get that right. It is something that we have provided a guidance note on in here, but we also provide a service helping people with their application for exemption to make sure they've got the right things in the letter of reference, and also checking over their application form, reminding them what they need to send in. So there's a fairly nominal fee plus VAT if you are in the UK. If you're outside, then there'll be no VAT on that figure, £250. So that's what we can do to help you with regard to that. I should mention that we do have in a service to help if you need to have your ID verified as well. It needs to be done by a solicitor. The SRA uses Atlantic data. Yeah, so it's just a little service to jump on a Zoom call and help you with that so you can get through and qualify. So I hope that's of some help, clarifies things for you, the steps forward. Please do reach out to us if you want any help. Just to share again on here, there's a form you can fill in. Email me by all means to ask for help. I'd rather you didn't ring, because then it's a random call that's coming in and I may well be in a meeting and I've got no audit trail really. So fill in the form or email me. Don't forget to subscribe. We want to get this number of subscribers up and let other people know that we're there to help. So I hope that's of some help, and I wish you all the best. Ciao.